Born and raised here in Denver. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. You know, I've had my share of troubles, probably like all of us, but I've found lately that since God's come into my life, you know, I was headed down a rough road here. Joined in a gang at the age of 8 called the Warlords, and that was pretty much my life, you know. I became the leader of the Warlords when I was 15, going on 16. Used to fight a lot. You know, I seen a lot of death. Saw one of my best friends gunned down when I was 15. From 15 to 21, you know, chaos everywhere I went. I was facing prison about 25 years. Been in already 4. I was facing everything from extortion. I was under investigation for murder. I mean, it's just tons of junk. And there was some shootings I had been involved in the past few years ago. They got me shot 3 times, you know, in my stomach, in my shoulder, in my legs, stabbed, cut up pretty good in my back, stomach, and my chest. Got a little plate on my head, and just spinning, just chaotically, you know. And I had a brother, Darren, so he had been coming to Denver Church before me. You know, he'd come visit me, and he'd always talk about God, you know. So I made a deal with him. One day in December when he came to visit me, I said, Darren, I'll tell you what, man, you stop talking about God and you come or write me or anything. And when I get out, I'll come and go to church. Wherever it is you're going, I'll go to church. January 16th comes, and I'm in court, and they have nothing. And they have to let me go, you know. They can't believe, they can't find nothing on me. And I'm just freaked out. I'm like, what next? Well, you get to go home, man. About a year ago, when I came to Denver Church, it was the first weekend after January 16th. So I came here, and I found something here. I gave God a chance, you know. I accepted Him as my personal Savior. I jumped in all the way. So I surrender. I give up. I don't want to fight no more. I don't want to go back to these drugs anymore. I want a new life, and that means changing my surroundings. You know, I changed everything, but I gave Him everything. I opened that book, and it started to speak to me. I started on Matthew, and I haven't stopped since. You know, I read sometimes 6 to 8 hours a day. I can't put it down. I just said, feed me. I trade you my addictions, my hate, my fighting. I trade it all for you. Just fill me up with you. And He started to do that. September 2nd, I got baptized, and I got free. Freedom I can't explain. But I'm a changed man. God's in my life. And this church is a big part of my family, my new family. With that, you know, He's real. He's real. You better believe He's real. God is greater than anything that's in this world. I can take anybody from any background. You can take them no matter what you're facing. If you give Him 100%, if you give Him everything that you gave the world, you know, He can make something great out of you.
Because this is actually the first time that Phil has shared his story publicly. and still going through a lot of stuff right now, but I just want you to meet Phil this morning. So just and tell us a little bit about your life growing up in Denver.
Before we get started here, good morning. Good morning. I asked this earlier, I got to ask again. Does everybody here love Jesus? Yes. Are you sure? You know, I find it cool. I've been hanging out with Brian for about 2 years now. And I'm new to Christ. And I grew up in gangs here in Denver. I worked for the mob for many years. And the gangs that I grew up in, everywhere I go, they aren't half the size of you. I mean, you're a gang I want to be a part of. They get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But I grew up here in Denver, and geez, it's been a journey. It's not an easy journey, like one of the guys were saying at Denver Church. The first church I had ever went to in my life, the first pastor I met was Pastor Brian here. It was Denver Church. And that was back in January 2007, like 16th, right around there. Long story short, I spent about 30 years of my life in the system here. Past 10 years trying to get out or get out of trouble or anything. I was facing 2 years ago 25 years in prison. Just to start, I was under investigation for murder, extortion, among other things, some fencing, racketeering. Just running chaotic in my life. I know there's a Jesus Christ, and I know there was a God, but to me, Jesus Christ is some guy who died on the cross. I mean, he did his job. It never really affected me or touched me in a way that I thought that's what's got me here. I have a brother who's in prison right now, and he tried to introduce me to Christ. I was facing that time, and he used to come visit me in jail, and when he would come, he'd pray for me. I don't know how many of you have gone to jail or been in jail. It sucks. The last thing you really want someone doing for you sometimes, if you've done time or whatever, is praying for you. You don't want to hear about God. I turned God away so many times. An amazing thing I learned about my brother coming to see me. It was about 3 times that before I approached him with this. He'd come in and tell me about how everybody's doing at home, what's going on in the neighborhood. And he'd say, okay, Phil, I want to close with a prayer before I get out of here. All right, man. So he'd pray and do his thing. After the 3rd time, I asked him to stop doing that. Don't pray for me anymore. Because, man, you're killing me. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, every time I go back to my bunk, man, I feel worse. I feel like, geez, the life I was living was really kind of bad. Well, yeah, he pointed out a few things. I used to shoot people in the butt when I was mad at them, driving down the street. It's goofy, but I saw some awful things. And every time he prayed, this image of Christ on that cross would come in, and I didn't want to think about it. So he came in one time, and I said, okay, before we do this visit there, I had trial coming up in November of 2006. And I said, before we do this, man, you got to promise me one thing. No more praying. Okay, stop. How you talked about the plans that God has for you. And I already had a plan. To me, the prosecution team and the judges I'm about to go in front of were a lot bigger than God. You know, I got a 25-year rap on my face, among other things that are going to happen. I don't need you praying for me. He's like, Phil, man, I'll never stop praying for you, bro. But why? Why don't you just let Christ into your life? And I had to explain over. I don't want him there. I know where I'm going. I'm going to jail, man. God can't do anything about that. Don't do it anymore. I cut your visits off. I don't want to hear about him. And he said, all right. It's okay, cool. Good. So we did our thing. I said, okay, before I go, I'm never going to stop praying for you. But I want to say something, man. I think if you want Christ in your life, I think if you just ask him, he can really help you. But I'll stop praying for if you do me one favor. And I was like, what's that, man? Let's make a deal. Let's just say a miracle happens. Let's just say you don't do 25 years. Let's just say something amazing happens. And you come to church with me when you get out. if this doesn't happen, you just come one day with me, and I won't come in here and pray with you. 'Cause that's all I got to do. It's done deal. Yeah, okay. So we knock the glass, and it's done deal. Okay, no more praying for me. I'm not here. Anyways, that time comes and goes. I get transferred on my way. You got a place where you get your number up here in Teller County. It's before you get transferred into Canyon City. Some of you guys know how to get your number. He's saying, yeah, that's the point. But it's a rough ride up there because it's ancient. Not that jail's not rough, but it's like a holding facility. You get transferred there. I haven't been prosecuted yet, but I already know what's going to happen. I'm committed to it. I ran out of drug money. I won't go into the things I did and the groups I was a part of, but I ran out of money that was paying for my attorney, so I had this public defender, a little short thing. And I was like, gosh, but we go up there. I go on my first day for my preliminaries and my pretrial stuff. This prosecutor has been following me around for quite some time. I had been on the run, to back up a little further, since 2001. I also like to say, it's nice to be heaven's most wanted instead of Colorado's most wanted. It was a rough run. There's nothing worse than being on the run and looking over your shoulder. And, I joined Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. I jumped on the train in 2001 when the feds were coming for me. And that's another story. I went and traveled around and hid out. Anyways, I was trying to make my way back into Denver. And I was pulled over. I was thinking about this. We were sitting down last time. I was coming back into Denver and I was arguing with my wife, and I had to come make a stop in Denver to get traveling money. We were arguing. I stopped at a Dairy Queen. I walk in and I bump into this highway patrolman on the way out. Geez, I'm just sweating bullets. It's been 3 years, but you never know. And so we walk in, and he walks out and he says, "Oh, excuse me." "Yeah, no problem. Not my fault." I walk over, get my ice cream, and I don't even know what I ordered. I just got to the car and said, "We got to get out of here." She's still arguing. No. Anyways, on the way home, I'm like, I wasn't religious, but I'm like, Lord, man, I wish there was something I could do so I didn't have to feel like this. I wish you could help me out of this situation. 2 seconds later, lights are on behind me. Well, he answered my question. I guess that was a prayer. I started my tour through all the different counties and jails from Michigan, Chicago, Utah, New Mexico, Texas, here, Wyoming, back here. So after about 3.5 years of going through that, you're ready to go do your time, get your number. Let's go to prison. So I'm waiting for my day there. She's talking to the prosecutor. The prosecutor's been following my trial over and over and over. I had over 111 different arrests this guy is familiar with. And we get ready to go. They put me back in the holding cell, and I was the first number called up. So I got to wait another 6 hours to go in front of the judge in front of an 8x8 little cell that's in their little Teller County. This thing's ancient up there. And it's a little box, and you got a bunch of sweaty people and drunks and people that are fighting. You probably got 50 people in that little 8x8. Standing room only, 6 hours. You go to the same bathroom, the same toilet, and you're right there. So at the end of the day, I'm like, man, please get me to prison. And it's hard to say, because you say that. Get me there. So I go in and I'm not paying attention to the judge nor my attorney. I figure, what's she going to do? She's a public defender. But my brother still prayed for me. And the judge, they have a little conference and they come back and say, okay, she goes, well, I'm going to just have this continue till December 16th. I'm like, wait, what are you doing? I'm about prisons like down this hill. I'm right there. If you're getting me to prison, if I got to go, let's go, get me there. And my judge says, excuse me, what do you say? He said, if I'm going to prison, let's get me there. And he says, you need to shut up, I think, and listen to your attorney. I've never had that request, I guess. But she tells me the same thing. Phil, please be quiet. I've got this under. I got to go back here for another 30 days? You got to be nuts. I won't go that one. But she explains that my cases have been misplaced against me. You can't find this stuff. He needs another month to put a case together. So that month comes and goes, and I was